The intention of the webinar today really is just about updating you on some of the features and helping navigate you around the app. The real key advantage of TruckScience is being able to maximise the payload and demonstrate to the customer in real time what a real configuration is going to look like, how it's going to weigh up, and being able to make those changes quite quickly without any delay. So we'll cover those basics, and we'll show you how to change bodies, import bodies and equipment, and at the end I'll do a comparison on a popular competitor's model that you might come up against. So we've got a fair bit to get through, so we'll make it pretty quick. Now, obviously the strategies we're looking at, load distribution. We'll be importing I'll show you how to import a body. It's in 5 clicks basically. How to optimize or calculate maximum payload. Look at the compliance scorecard, and we'll send the reports after the webinar to people that attend as well, so you can see just how that report comes out and how quick and easy it is to send to your customer on the fly. So what we're going to work on today is an FL. Obviously, it's the new wide body 500 series that we're going with, and we're going to apply a 14 pallet body with a tailgate lifter or tailgate loader to it, and we're going to go through a few scenarios with weight and payload there as well. So we'll get started. Basically, what we're going to do is run through a very quick, simple scenario and just demonstrate to you, in under a few minutes, how to build and finish off and specify the 14 pallet FL for your customer. You can see the home screen here, so we'll just go to the full size, and many of you will be familiar with this, obviously. So, what's important to note here is that TruckScience data comes from our OEM spec sheet, so we rely heavily on OEs to provide the information, and in many cases, we can talk directly with the OE to make sure if there are any anomalies in the data, then we'll share that, or we'll update that where necessary. As I mentioned before, we meet pretty regularly with Jens and his team, and we table features that we'd like to have added based on feedback from the market, and we provide a timeline on how we can get that information to you. So it's pretty unique. We know that having our data readily available and updated is an advantage for us, and we're pretty sure that the other products on the market lag in terms of being able to be that quick and easy to update. Just very quickly, you can see the home screen here. So we've got all our manufacturers here. Most of the products that are on the Australian market are in here. There probably aren't too many that aren't. We go and update these very regularly. Even as early as today, we're just updating a few Isuzu model drawings as well. All the MY20 300 series and the MY19 500 series that were launched currently in the app. And what I'll do quickly is we'll just go through these buttons while we're on this page, just to give you an idea of what's here. So obviously this is a new calculation. You can select one of the vehicles from that list. We have saved calculations there, things that I've done in the past. In your case, these might be particular customers or particular configurations that you're used to. So you'd have them saved in folders, as you can see there. I've got a number of different folders depending on what it is that we're doing. Now, calculations shared with me. So this is something you can share amongst your sales team, sales manager. For example, if one of your sales team was drawing a picture for a customer, he wanted to send it to you to be approved, he'd share it with you. You could update it and return it, and he'll be notified once you've returned it with any modifications or updates. Same with your bodybuilders. If you have bodybuilders that are using TruckScience, then they will also have the right to share your drawings as well and make changes to them. And in the resources section here, it's a growing section. We have some webinars there, We've got some case studies. We have some how-tos, and then we've got some useful documents there, which include, we've got some commodity mass spec sheets, so everything from A to Z, basically, and then the VSB6. All those VSB6 bulletins are in there. So if you had a particular concern or question or something that you were trying to address, then you could look at the VSB6 guide and address it there. So we're going to move on now, I guess, straight to back to the calculation. So going into the Hino tab, now there's a couple of ways that we can go through here. We can either select 500 series there, and if you wanted to, you could select the model that we're looking for. So obviously we're going for the FL, which is a great way to, it's a quick and easy way to access straight through by typing it in. Otherwise, like I said, you can go through and select manually if you know the model already that you're looking for. So from here, we're going to go around this home page really quickly. It won't take too long. It's very user friendly, as you can see. Everything is here quite quickly to access. We have, obviously, there's our report page that we go through and provide the report for the customer at the end. We go back to our drawing. We have save. We can share. There's our screen settings, overall settings, account settings. We can adjust our regulation table. We have a bridge formula for different regulations in different states. We have a center of gravity diagram here as well that we can go through, looking at different center of gravities. Once we've got bodies with equipment on there, then that will change as well. So we can go to the turning circle dimensions. As you can see from the turning circle dimensions, it calculates based on overall length and the outer arc of the wheel there. So there's no other requirement or drawings or calculations necessary there. We go to the types of view. We have top view and side view, which we generally work in the side view. And then basically just working on the page, we have a detailed view, which you see there, and a simplified view, which just takes out some of the dimensions to make it a bit easier to work with. We have the warning triangle here. So basically, this just shows us all the things that are going on in the drawing. You'll notice everything's orange there. Once we look at it and we click OK, it just returns back to black, unless it identifies a warning that we need to be made aware of. So the main weight table here is comprises of a couple of different things. You can see basically the chassis mass, which, as I mentioned, we get from the curb weight. From the OEM spec sheet. We add fuel and crew, and as a general rule, while I'm doing my drawing, I'll add the crew weight to 100 kilograms. The ADR specifies 80, which I think is probably a little bit generous. If we go with 100, we know we're probably covering most of the guys that are driving out there, plus a bit of room for movement with equipment and bags and so on. So we'll see that change throughout the drawing. And then we have our compliance table. So obviously here, it keeps an eye on how we're performing in terms of regulations and manufacturer ratings, and it'll give us a warning through one of these ticks and crosses if we're doing the wrong thing. So up on the left column, very quickly, we have our vehicle icon. We have our body and a vehicle body installation icon. There's the vehicle equipment. Move down to adding a payload, and then we then have trailer 1 and trailer 2 for those vehicles that have obviously more than one trailer. So where we're going to start now basically is we've selected the vehicle where we know that the vehicle that we've got is the right one, because we've checked the model at the top of the screen here to make sure that it is the FL we're looking at. And so we're going to go on now to the drawing. Firstly, like I said, I'm going to go and adjust the weight of the crew. You can see in the vehicle icon there. It brings out all of the vehicle dimensions, the length, width, and obviously turning ability. And in the length and the width, obviously taken from the spec sheet, so we tend to leave those unless we're making a major modification. The masses and the axles are all set by OE and regulation. They can be altered, but we tend to recommend they're left as they are. And we have a fuel tank fitted as per the spec sheet, and the fuel tank is added with fuel. You can see in the dimensions and the weights down the bottom. And then we get to the crew, which we mentioned a minute ago. So I'll add 100 kilos there for him, and we'll just leave it with the one crew member at the moment. So I don't think we need to add two. So what we've said we're going to do is add a body here. So we're going to go with just a 14 pallet. So that's already selected in there. We've got a number of templates that are available. Just quickly going over the templates, we have a number of different templates available. If you click in any one of those templates, you'll see some cases bodybuilders have provided the access straight away to the body drawings that they've got. Some of the bodybuilders are quite okay to share, and some of the other bodybuilders would prefer to keep those drawings to themselves or not provide any industry information. And then in other, there's a whole lot of other ones in there that have been added a long time, like concrete pumps, agitators, and so on. Now, as I said at the start, we're going to go with a 14 pallet curtain on this because it's pretty simple to do and pretty common application for us to go through. So there's two examples here, and the point of today really is showing you how quick and easy it can be done. What we've got is a template here, and then there's also an example which I'll show you quickly on what we do if we're going to import a drawing. So one of the key points of advantage that we've got here is over our competitor, we can import a drawing directly from a engineer or a bodybuilder as long as it's in a 2D DXF format by clicking here. And it's literally about a 5-step process to get that drawing in there. So I'm going to cheat a little bit. This has taken the drawing from the 2D CAD file that you've just brought in from your desktop or your file. We'd select next, and what it's asking us to is it's ensuring that we've got scale and that we're fitting the body to the X and Y axis, and making sure that where we want the headboard and the body lower subframe to be is in line with the X and Y position in the drawing in relation to the vehicle. So if I move it around, it'll place the body in a different position on the vehicle and not necessarily in the position we want it. So if we just go right in position there, it'll automatically align it in XY0, so it's on the correct plane, and then we go to the next. So here we would look at the drawing that we've got and make sure that the dimensions match the dimensions that have been provided to us, either by the engineer or the bodybuilder, that will be included in the drawing dimensions. And we just ensure that those drawings are all okay. You can alter those drawings if the scale is not correct or if the numbers aren't quite right. You can make a change there to those numbers. So then we go to next, and this is now just ensuring that the center of gravity and the mass are correct. There's two ways we can do this: by an absolute mass, which is showing there. So either the engineer or the bodybuilder has told you the absolute mass, or we can do an estimate of a lineal meter, kilograms per meter. So you can see here at 210 kilograms per meter is the estimate for that 14 pallet body, or about 1,800 kilograms. Okay, so being a curtain, we'll leave the center of gravity in that position there, so it'll also affect our payload capability as well. The next point here is obviously to call it whatever you like. So I'll just call it example 1. So basically we've now imported that 2D drawing from our drive. We've centered it and located it, made sure the dimensions and the mass are all correct, and we're happy with that. So now we're going to save it. So you'll see in a second, we'll save it there. But if I remove that body now, we go back into curtain side, there's that example there, saved as example 1. Okay, so so it's all there, the body, exact body that we just brought in, now saved in your personal file, so you can reuse this body on any chassis application you wish, and put it on any on any truck chassis that you wish. Now I'll just get rid of that. We'll start from scratch on a template, because while I'm in the template here, I can show you some of the movements that we're going to do here, the dimensions that we're going to do. So 14 pallet body, most of you will recognise straight away that 14 pallet body looks a little bit awkward. So what we do, basically, we can adjust those dimensions on the fly any way you like. We can select the body drawing itself and go in and adjust the dimensions through this table, which is pretty easy. You can do multiple dimension adjustments all at once there, or where the blue number is highlighted in the text, you can click on that number also, and there the number is represented in that box before. So if I click on 9117, you'll see here that there are 2 icons. The first just tells us what that length is, and we know that that's the external body length. And the second tells us that there's some available options for that body length suited to this chassis. Now at 9117, it's automatically configured that body length to suit the available chassis length at 9117. It's saying it has a maximum potential body length of 9327, which would take into account the overall rear overhang. And it's also saying that given a water level load, it's estimating that optimum body length will be 9144. So none of those suit me. I'm not looking at 9144 or 9327. I'm looking at just using a 9 metre body, because I know that works in 14 pallets. And you'll see that I've got a bit of chassis hanging over the back. Yeah, we'll go to the body here. Align chassis to rear of body. There we go. And that will shorten up the body there. And you'll see in the drawing on the triangle that it has reminded us that we've made a change there to the body length by reducing that rear overhang by 117 millimeters. So we click OK. We're OK with that. Now we want to increase that height. And I find that going to 2700 is pretty standard height for 14 pallet. I'm going to adjust that subframe height. So I think at 150 mil, it's probably a little high. So we'll go with 100. And I think looking at that dimension so far, we've got a roof thickness that seems about right. We might just have a look at the top side, ensure that 2490. We know that's within regulation. It's right inside the 2500 maximum. So we're going to add a tail lift on there very quickly. Now, same as all the other menus here, you can type in what you're looking for, and if it's in there, it'll make life a whole lot easier. So you can see we've got a lot of tailgate templates from Anteo already in there, and we keep adding to these each day, and many bodybuilders and dealers also keep adding to these templates each day. So for this case, I'm going to go to the F322. Now you can see it automatically positions it based on a dimension set by the tailgate manufacturer. And again, you can see my warning triangle here. It's told me that the tail lift mounting clearance is not calculated, which is okay, because we'll obviously check that during the body build. So now we have the tailgate lifter loaded. As I said, you can change that any time. You can move the tailgate lift around. You can try any different tailgate loader on there that you wish. So Bearing in mind we're still just inside that that rear overhang limit of 3,700 and 60%. And I'm just going to go up and have a look and make sure that my my cab gap here is right. So, making sure that cab gap dimension is quite critical. And what you'll notice here, there's a figure that's already in there, and the figure that's in there is already the existing manufacturer's cab gap spacing. So at 50 millimeters in the body mounting manual for Hino, they will specify 50 mil cab gap. That tells me it's a pretty narrow gap, so I'll usually push that out to 150. And what the reason for that is, it gives me some leeway shortly when I'm making some changes to payload. But I know myself from my past that 50 mil cab gap is not a lot. 100 mil cab gap is quite practical. And when we're talking with the bodybuilders, specifying 150 mil cab gap gives us a good room and a good margin for error, particularly when we're looking at axle capacities that are running very close to the maximum like we do. So we're going to have a look here at this payload, and we're happy that that payload at 12,800 is quite efficient. It's a very, very healthy payload for this chassis. So what we're going to do now is have a closer look at the payload section. So if you haven't looked at the app already, you may not be familiar with the fact that this constantly optimizes payload. So every time we make a change to something here, it will automatically adjust that optimized payload. So we click on that. If I click the box there, that will enable me to increase the payload, and you can see straight away we head into the red. So it's telling us automatically something's happened. We unclick it, it'll bring it back to optimized, and you'll see that we'll return back to legal. So it optimizes at a water level load, and it happens immediately once you make a change. If you want to detail or select the payload, in this case, we've got to build a 14 pallet. So let's go and put 14 pallets on here. And I'm going to find 14 pallets from my detailed payload menu. There's a couple of different options we can go with. We know that we've got 2490 width, so we can go obviously 2 pallets wide. There's 2 options with the 14 pallet here, depending on the type of pallet. If we stick with the 1200 by 1200, now the pallets automatically come in weighed up at about a ton and a half or a ton each per pallet. So you can see immediately that that's not going to work. So I know from before that we had about a 12.5 ton payload when it was optimized at water level load. And I'm going to just quickly set that here, 12.5. And what that should do is bring us pretty close to the money here with the 14 pallets on board. You can see still on that front axle that it's a bit heavy. Bear in mind, I've only got one driver at 100 kilos, so I'm not really going to adjust the driver. I'm going to leave him where it is, but I might flip it over on the top and have a closer look. So you'll see there, those pallets are pushed right up against the headboard, which we know in real life probably wouldn't happen. So I'm going to just click and hold that group of pallets. I'm going to move them back. And look at that, I've just moved them back 100 mil, and straight away we've picked up 150 odd kilos over that front. And I'm going to move them back again and again and again and again until we hit the maximum over the rear axle group. So we've come back at 0.5 meter nearly from the front of the body. So let's find that nice medium point at about halfway. So at about 200 millimeters from the headboard and about the same to the rear, we found our sweet spot, I suppose, there. So if we go back to the side view there, you can see for a 9 meter body with a tailgate loader, that's probably a pretty good payload. Now, because we're in a detailed payload, we can't optimize it, but what I'm going to try here is see if I can get 13 tons. So we're just a little bit short. Now, most of you guys watching will know that 13 ton on a 6x2 is a pretty good payload. So let's move that forward. So we'll move it forward. So we're 100 mil. So we've got a 13-ton payload on a 6x2 body here with a tailgate loader. So I'm pretty impressed with that. That's you know, what, 850 odd kilograms per pallet. You'll know that 850 kilos on a pallet nowadays is pretty good going. So that's a pretty outstanding effort. Now I'm going to take those pallets off, show you how to do that quickly. I'm going to go back to water level load because I want to show you something else. So I'm going to cut those out. They're gone now. So we've gone back to having no load there, and the truck's empty. So we'll go back to our payload icon, and we're going to just select simple payload. It'll go back to water level, and it'll optimize that for us at 12,872. Now we're just about there. One thing I wanted to show you just before we do that is about how do we compare this with the competitor quote. So customers come in, he's given you the quote for the Isuzu, which is the obviously the number one in this segment. So we're going to change this configuration over. I'm going to select the new vehicles from the top icon there, and in that top menu bar there, search by keyword, I'm just going to go with FVL because that's what the customers come in quoting, and we're going to go like for like with the FVL Auto long wheelbase, which is very similar. Now it is a slightly higher horsepower, but with that horsepower comes a higher tare weight. Okay, so you'll notice immediately that we've got an advantage there, even though they've got they're right on the limit on that front axle. If you recall, we were at close to 13 ton. In fact, we're at 12,800. So we're at about half a ton advantage here. Now, I can demonstrate the moving the body and moving the water level load, but purely in terms of showing, you know, competitive advantage for your product, for your customer, you can show to him immediately that, you know, based on that drawing, there's a half a ton of payload gone begging if you go with the Isuzu. So you can bring the calculator out, show them what half a ton looks like on that truck out over, you know, a week, a month, 12 months, and work out pretty quickly that even while they're asking a premium for that chassis, that losing half a ton just doesn't add up. So let's go back to the Hino again. So I'm just going to type in here FL 2628, and we'll see what we come up with. That's the truck we had. Back to our truck, and yes, we want to swap it. So it's already optimized it again. It's brought that body gap back to 50 mil, and it's given us an even bigger advantage. Now, I said before I didn't like that 50 mil gap, but that's what the OE specifies. So why don't we leave it at that for the sake of the drawing? Look, I'm happy. There's no warnings outstanding. Everything in the warning menu tells us that we're okay. We've got a bit of axle capacity at the front. We're right on the rear, so we know we've got a little tiny bit of leeway there in terms of that goes. And I think if you're sitting there with your customer with this configuration, I think they'd be pretty happy with it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to send this to them to accompany the quote that you're going to prepare. And by clicking on the report menu, it brings up basically what's going to be the PDF version of the customer's report. Now you'll see in the top section here, that's our image there for our letterhead. Obviously, with your own dealership, that would be, you know, whatever your dealer name and logo is, would be installed in that top corner. So we just go and give it a name, which will be the 14 pallet, and it's going to be prepared for. Sorry about my typing. For customer X. Phone +61, you know what his phone number is, and additional notes are, you know, thanks for the opportunity. And what we're going to do is we're going to apply those changes. You'll see this is exactly what the customer is going to see, and as we scroll down on the page, we can show him the overall dimensions. We can go through the center of gravity points of reference on the chassis with each of the masses there, given an individual center of gravity reference and a mass. So we can give the complete mass summary on that page as well. So if we had 20 other items, drums, pallets of bricks, a forklift, whatever it is, they'd be itemised here, centre of gravity and individual mass itemised as well. And then we've got all our information here that that was in the notes and warning triangle. So basically that tells us everything that the customer needs to know, and in some cases, everything the bodybuilder will need to know as well. So you could not only send this to your customer, but you could also send this to your bodybuilder to be used as the reference for the build. You can see in the additional notes, thanks to the opportunity, what I've heard some salespeople do is they'll copy and paste either from their quote or from their Word document elements of their quote or estimate in there, so it'll come up with the cab chassis price with the body price, whatever it is. So you can incorporate that into the entire quote for the customer. Now you can print that directly to the printer in the office and grab that, get a signature from the customer right away. You can download it and save it to your drive for the customer, or you can basically email it directly. Basically, just like your email client there, you just send that drawing directly to the customer and he'll receive it in his inbox immediately. I think that's pretty close to it in terms of the drawing and the report side. We'll shoot back into the presentation. Now, just going to go through this summary. What we've looked at is understanding how we can make changes to that load distribution on the front and rear axles, importing body and equipment. So we looked at the best achievable payload there, and I think we pretty impressed that we're able to achieve a higher payload than our competitor. Kept an eye on that scorecard the whole time, and we sent a email to our client. The key feature there for us in the app too are the ongoing resources. So we're constantly adding resources. We have a YouTube page there as well that we keep updating as well. And in that compliance scorecard, we can actually change the regulation. So if you just quickly bear with me, I'll show you on the screen there. I've been working in the national regulation, that whole drawing, but you can see I can quickly pop into the Victorian regulation, and on this particular vehicle, because we're on road-friendly air suspension in the Victorian segment, we pick up that extra half a tonne. So all of a sudden, that becomes even more productive, that vehicle. So that compliance scorecard does have state-by-state regulations built into it as well. So they can be adjusted depending on which state you are and which state your vehicle is going to be registered in.
Just to note on the smarts behind that, the software actually recognises when you're within the requirements of the regulations. For example, with that Victorian ruling, it applies that ruling when you've got road friendly, as Ben said. It removes it when you don't. But part of the ruling, which isn't very common, is that once you add a trailer onto that, then what happens is that exemption is actually removed. So you can put a tow bar on that truck and you won't have a problem. As soon as you put a trailer on, it will recalculate it as per all the different clauses in the regulation to maintain compliance. So you're not overloading the truck for the customer thinking, oh, we'll still get that the extra weight on our axles there. So although the user interface is a very clean, easy to use one, there's actually a lot of smarts that go on behind the scenes.
No worries, thanks, Tony. All right, we're just about to wrap up. So again, I see the questions have been going on between Tony and Jens and yourselves there. Just before we go, if you haven't had use of the free trial, which I'm pretty sure most of you have, we've seen most of you use the app over the last couple of weeks. Go ahead and get a free trial. You can follow the free trial button there in the TruckScience website, and it will take you through to the app and sign up. Now, what we're doing today is obviously we're marketing a great product that we think is the best product in the market. We know it's the best product in the market for axle weight calculation and truck application and sales tools. So we're releasing some information today about pricing, letting you have a look at the benefits to the business in terms of the sales tool and the support from us that you will get with that annual subscription. And the summary of this here is that a 12-month user license gives you access to the app for 12 months and one subscriber or one licensee. Now you can add licensee or add users to that license. Each user is approximately $300. So 2 users, your total annual cost for the dealership would be $900. 5 users would be $2,100. 10 users would be $3,600, and so on. So it's priced extremely competitively. We've done the research in the market to tell us that even with 10 users for 12 months, that's a very competitive app. Considering all the updates happen to the app in the background, and all your online support, all the support comes online during business hours while you're using the app through the app's communication channel intercom, which is generally Tony or myself will be responding when you have inquiries there. Now, just before you go, the last special, I guess, for today is what we're offering Hino dealers is if you sign up to the app based on attending the webinar and having visited us recently, we want to extend that trial out. Forget about renewing in 2021 and forget any bad memories you had of 2020. We're going to push the subscription right out until January 2022 for you. So if you sign up today or in the next few weeks, basically you're getting an extension of the app for 3 months included for free, and that'll take you out to January. At this point, it'll be roughly Australia Day before you have to worry about renewing your registration in 2022. So it's a 15-month subscription basically for the price of 12 months. So you're welcome to send us an email and inquiry for quotes on various numbers in the dealership, and we'd be more than happy to look at those numbers for you, case by case, and help you to get up and running. We can generally have you up and running the same day or at the very latest the next day. Now that's really it for me. I've concluded everything I needed. We tried to keep that short and sweet. When we end the webinar very shortly, just don't forget to rate us and give us a score out of 5 on how you thought the presentation and the app is. And we look forward to talking to you shortly. I'll be in touch with you over the next couple of days to get your thoughts and feedback. And we hope to see some of you sign up and use TruckScience to help you sell trucks to your customers as soon as you can. So once again, thanks very much. Hope to see you over the next couple of weeks, and I'll talk to you soon. All right. Thanks again, guys. Appreciate it, and thanks for coming. Cheers.